All right, everyone, buckle up. We're diving deep today. I'm William, and I'm here to be your guide. To make this complex world of cybersecurity, well, a little less complex, joining me, as always, is the brilliant Jessica, who's here to connect the dots and help us see the bigger picture.
Always happy to be back. And today, we're talking about something you might have heard buzzing around. Security posture. Sounds a little stiff, I know. But trust me, it's a concept that can make or break you, whether you're just navigating your own digital life or running a whole company.
You're absolutely right. And we couldn't dive into this topic without the support of Darkvisory, a cybersecurity firm that's dedicated to, you guessed it, strengthening security posture. They're the pros. They help organizations figure out where their weak spots are and then how to fix them. Kind of like digital detectives, I guess, except they fight cyber criminals. Instead of solving mysteries with magnifying glasses.
Well, I don't know about the magnifying glass part, but they definitely use some pretty sophisticated tools and techniques. And the material you sent me, it really lays out the groundwork, what security posture is, why it's so crucial in our hyper-connected world, and most importantly, what we can actually do to improve it.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. Security posture, what does that even mean? It's not like we're striking a yoga pose to protect our data, right?
Maybe we should start a cybersecurity yoga trend. But seriously, you're right, the term is a bit odd. Think of it as like a snapshot of your overall cybersecurity strength. How prepared are you or your organization to defend against cyber attacks? It's not just about having the latest gadgets, it's about having the whole system in place. Processes, policies, technology, and even the awareness of the people involved.
So it's more like a holistic health assessment.
Yeah.
But for our digital lives.
I like that. A digital checkup. And just like our physical health, it requires ongoing attention. The threat landscape, the bad guys out there. They're constantly finding new ways to exploit weaknesses, new viruses, new phishing tactics, new ways to trick us into clicking that link that we really shouldn't.
Which is why you can't just set it and forget it right. You have to constantly adapt and improve. Speaking of which, let's start with the individual. We all have a digital life now, some bigger than others, but it's there. What are some of the factors that make up a strong security posture for someone like me or our listeners?
Well, it all starts with your digital footprint. Think of it as the trail of data you leave behind every time you go online. Every website you visit, every account you create, every post you like, it all adds up. And for cyber criminals, this footprint is a gold mine. They can use it to build profiles, target you with scams, and even try to steal your identity.
So it's like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
But instead of leading to a gingerbread house, it's leading to our sensitive information.
Exactly. And the scary part is most people don't even realize how big their digital footprint is. But here's the good news. There are some simple, practical things we can do to protect ourselves. The sources you shared had some great advice, like strong, unique passwords for every single account. I know it's a pain, but password managers can be lifesavers here.
And they mentioned two-factor authentication, too. I know that can be annoying sometimes, getting that extra code. But I guess it's worth it for the added security.
Absolutely. It's like having a double lock on your door. And being mindful of what you share online. Think before you post.
You know, the source material had this story about John Doe, the freelance designer. It really brought it home for me.
Oh, yes, John Doe. His story is a classic example of what can go wrong, even if you're not a tech giant. He was reusing passwords, didn't have two-factor authentication set up, and bam! He fell victim to a phishing scam, lost access to all his accounts, client data, everything.
Wait, he lost everything?
Yeah.
That's awful. I mean, we always hear about phishing. But to actually see the impact it had on someone's life, that's rough.
And it's more common than you think. John's story highlights why security posture. It's not just some abstract concept. It has real-world consequences. Even a little effort can make a huge difference. It's about being proactive, not paranoid. That's right. John's story is a stark reminder that anyone can be a target. But while individuals need to be cautious, the stakes get even higher. When we talk about enterprises, for a company, a security breach isn't just an inconvenience. It can be a full-blown catastrophe.
Yeah, we hear about data breaches all the time in the news. It seems like hardly a week goes by without some major company getting hit. And the fallout can be huge, right? I mean, we're talking financial losses, legal trouble, damage to their reputation.
Exactly. And the impact goes beyond just the company itself. Think about all the individuals whose data might be compromised in a breach. Their personal information, financial records, even their health records. It's a massive responsibility.
So how do these large organizations even begin to approach security posture? I mean, it must be incredibly complex, given the sheer scale of their operations.
It definitely is. And the sources you provided highlighted some pretty comprehensive frameworks that enterprises use to guide their security efforts. Frameworks like NIST ISO 27001 and the CIS controls. These aren't just vague guidelines. They lay out a structured approach to identifying risks, implementing safeguards, and responding to incidents.
Okay, so break it down for me. Let's say I'm a CEO, and I'm serious about improving my company's security posture. Where do I even start?
Well, the first step is understanding what you have. A complete inventory of all your assets. Hardware, software, data, user, accounts, everything. Then you need to figure out where your vulnerabilities lie. What are the weakest links in your system? What are the most valuable assets that need the strongest protection?
So it's like taking stock of your inventory, but for your digital world. And then figuring out where you're most exposed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Then comes the tricky part, putting the right safeguards in place. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because it's not just about technology. Sure, you need things like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and encryption. But it's also about processes and policies. How do you manage user access? How do you train your employees to recognize and avoid threats? How do you respond if an attack does occur?
It sounds like a massive undertaking, almost overwhelming.
It can be, but there are resources and expertise available to help. And that's where companies like DarkVisory come in. They can provide guidance on implementing these frameworks, conducting risk assessments, and even simulating real-world attacks to test your defenses.
Wait, simulating attacks? That's a thing?
It is. It's called penetration testing. And it's a crucial part of assessing security posture. Ethical hackers with permission, of course, try to break into your systems to find weaknesses before the bad guys do.
That's wild. It's like hiring a bank robber to test your vault security.
In a way, yes. It helps you identify vulnerabilities you might not have even known existed. And it's not just for big companies. There are tools available for individuals, too, like vulnerability scanners. That can check your home network for weaknesses.
So there are ways to be proactive, both for individuals and for businesses.
Absolutely. But even with the best intentions, there are challenges. One of the biggest hurdles, especially for enterprises, is budget constraints. Security can be expensive, and it's often seen as a cost center rather than an investment.
But wouldn't you say that investing in security is ultimately more cost-effective than dealing with a major breach? I mean, the costs of a breach can be astronomical.
You're absolutely right. And that's a point we often try to emphasize with our clients. Think of it as an insurance policy. It might seem like an unnecessary expense until something goes wrong. Then you'll be grateful you had it.
Makes sense. So budget is one challenge. What are some others? The source material also talked about the human factor, right?
Yes, the human factor is huge. It's often the weakest link in the security chain. People clicking on phishing links, using weak passwords, falling for social engineering scams.
It's like having a state-of-the-art security system, but leaving your front door wide open.
Exactly. And that's why employee training and awareness are so crucial. It's not just about implementing technology. It's about creating a culture of security within an organization.
So security posture isn't just about firewalls and intrusion detection systems. It's about people, too. It's about education and changing behaviors.
Precisely. And that brings up another challenge, keeping up with the ever-evolving threat landscape. The bad guys are constantly coming up with new tactics, and organizations need to be agile and adaptable to stay ahead of the curve.
It sounds like it's a never-ending battle.
In a way it is, but it's a battle worth fighting. And the more we understand about the risks and the strategies for mitigating them, the better equipped we'll be to protect ourselves, our data, and our organizations.
Okay, so we've talked about frameworks, tools, and challenges, but before we move on, I'm curious about something. The sources mentioned SIEM systems, and I have to admit, I have no idea what those are.
Ah, yes, SIEM systems. They stand for Security Information and Event Management. And they're becoming increasingly essential, especially for larger organizations. Think of them as a central nervous system. For cybersecurity, they collect and analyze security data from all sorts of sources, firewalls, servers, applications, you name it, to help detect and respond to threats in real time.
So it's like having a superpowered security guard who can see everything happening across your entire network.
That's a great analogy. SIEM systems use sophisticated algorithms and machine learning to sift through massive amounts of data, looking for patterns and anomalies that might indicate a security incident. And they can alert security teams to potential threats much faster than humans could ever do on their own.
That sounds incredibly powerful, but I imagine it's also quite complex to set up and manage.
It can be, but again, there are experts who specialize in this.
Yeah.
And the benefits can be significant, especially for organizations. with complex IT environments.
Well, this deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to the complexity of security posture. Especially for enterprises, it's a lot more than just having a strong password. But amidst all these frameworks and technologies, I'm wondering from your perspective, what are some of the emerging trends that will shape the future of security posture?
That's a great question, William. One trend that's really gaining momentum is the focus on the security of the Internet of Things, or IoT.
Ah, the IoT. All those smart devices
Yeah.
we're increasingly surrounding ourselves with. Smart speakers, thermostats, even refrigerators that can order groceries online. But I guess they also create new security risks, right? I mean, I'm not sure I trust my refrigerator to have a strong password.
You're right to be concerned. As we connect more and more devices to the Internet, we're essentially expanding the attack surface for cybercriminals. And many of these IoT devices are designed with convenience in mind, not necessarily security. They often have weaker security protocols and might not be updated as regularly as our computers and smartphones.
So it's not just about securing our laptops and phones anymore. It's about securing our entire digital ecosystem, from our smartwatches to our smart homes. That's a pretty daunting thought.
It is, and it requires a shift in mindset. We need to start thinking about security holistically, considering all the interconnected devices in our lives. And we need to be more proactive about choosing devices from manufacturers who prioritize security.
So it's not just about changing our passwords. It's about changing our whole approach to how we live and work
Yeah,
in this increasingly connected world.
exactly. And another trend that's going to have a huge impact on security posture is the rise of artificial intelligence, or AI.
AI. Now that's a topic we could spend a whole other deep dive exploring. But how does AI factor into cybersecurity?
Well, AI can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it can be a powerful tool for defenders, helping us analyze massive amounts of data, detect threats more quickly and accurately, and even automate some security tasks.
So AI can be like a superpowered security analyst, working tirelessly behind the scenes to keep us safe.
Exactly. It can help us stay ahead of the curve in the arms race against cybercriminals. But here's the catch. The bad guys can also use AI to their advantage. They can use it to create more sophisticated malware, to launch more targeted phishing attacks, and even to automate their attacks, making them faster and more effective.
So it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, with both sides leveraging the power of AI.
It is, and that's why it's so crucial to invest in AI-powered security solutions and to develop the expertise to use them effectively.
So in a way, the future of security posture
Right.
will be heavily influenced by how we harness and manage the power of AI.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to raise awareness and to encourage everyone to be proactive about their own security and the security of their data.
Well said. It's definitely a fascinating and ever-evolving landscape.
It certainly is. But amidst all these trends and technological advancements, I think it's important to remember that the human element will always be a critical factor in security posture.
Absolutely. We can have the most sophisticated technology in the world. But if people aren't aware of the risks, if they're not trained to follow best practices, if they're not vigilant about protecting their own data and the data of their organizations, then all that technology won't matter much.
It's like having a high-tech security system, but leaving the front door wide open.
Exactly.
So as we move forward, I think it's vital that we focus on empowering people to be active participants in their own security.
Which means education training and fostering a culture of security awareness within organizations and in our personal lives.
Precisely. And that's something we're incredibly passionate about at Dark Advisory. We believe that knowledge is power when it comes to cybersecurity, and we're committed to helping our clients build a more secure future by equipping them with the tools, the expertise, and the mindset to thrive in this increasingly digital world.
That's a great message to end on. Knowledge is power. And we hope this deep dive has given our listeners some valuable knowledge to empower them to take control of their own security posture.
I hope so too.
It really is amazing how much ground we've covered, from personal digital hygiene to enterprise-level frameworks and even a glimpse into the future with AI. It's clear that security posture is a multifaceted and ever-evolving challenge.
It's true, and we've only just scratched the surface. But hopefully this deep dive has provided our listeners with a solid foundation and some food for thought.
Absolutely. And for those who want to keep digging, we'll be sure to include links to all the sources we mentioned, plus some additional resources in the show notes. Don't be afraid to get nerdy with it.
Definitely. The more we learn and share knowledge, the stronger our collective security posture becomes.
Well said, Jessica. And speaking of sharing knowledge, A huge thank you to DarkVisory for sponsoring this episode and for their commitment to empowering individuals and organizations to take control of their cybersecurity. If you're looking for expert guidance, whether it's penetration testing, security assessments, or just some good old-fashioned advice, be sure to check them out.
Absolutely. They're a fantastic resource, and we highly recommend them.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of security posture. We hope you found it informative, engaging, and maybe even a little bit empowering.
Remember, building a strong security posture is a journey, not a destination. It requires ongoing attention adaptation and a willingness to learn and evolve.
So true. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure out there.
Until next time.